Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Before the Altar. I'm Father James Mallon, pastor of Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish, and I'm very pleased to be joined today by Jims Alackel, Jims Thomas Alackel. Welcome, Jims.
Thank you, Father.
It's great to have you with us. You are the newest member of our parish staff. What's your job title these days?
Evangelization Director, Director of Evangelization.
Yeah, and is there anything else you're responsible for?
Alpha and Discipleship and Leadership in the parish.
Okay, so we're going to get into that, but first of all, we do these interviews before the altar. Obviously, we're before the altar, but it's this idea of the altar as a place of sacrifice. St. Paul says in his letter to the Romans, offer yourselves as a living sacrifice, and we really want to interview people, parish staff, other leaders, parishioners, to get to the why. Like, what is it that has moved you to offer your life as a living sacrifice, to live out your faith in this way? Jims, where's home for you originally?
I'm from India in a province called Kerala.
And no, so for us Canadians, our regular Canadians, tell us, we think of the map of India, whereabouts is that?
It's the southmost part on southmost part on the Indian Ocean. So it's a small province.
So how did you end up in Canada?
It's a long story, but short too. I came to study. I came as an international student after my engineering in India, and I was working, and then I wanted to do masters. So I did my masters in engineering management from
really?
University of Ottawa.
Okay.
So that's how I came to Canada.
So that made total sense, to get a master's degree in engineering management and then get into church ministry.
Not at all. It's a long process of.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to hear about it. And by the way, folks, feel free to get online and ask Jim some questions. So we're really interested in this journey that took you not just from Kerala to Canada, but also from working as an engineer to working in ministry.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning of that. When did you, tell us a little bit about your faith journey.
I grew up Catholic. My parents were devout Catholics, so we used to go for Sunday Mass, or most of the time my dad used to force me to go for daily Mass. But it didn't, it was just...
Notice you said he used to force you to go.
Yeah, exactly, right.
So you weren't overly excited about that?
No. No, he'll wake me up at 6:30 to go for 7 a.m. Mass before school, so something like that. But I guess after my grade 12, I went for a youth program. It was a 7-day kind of a retreat week. That kind of changed me. Until then, Jesus was someone who is above, who is God, someone who is going to control you in your life. But from then, I had a personal relationship with him, and I had an encounter where it became very personal, that Jesus died for me, and I want to give my life to him.
So that's quite an amazing experience. Was it during a talk, a conversation, a time of prayer? What was that moment like for you?
It was a mix of a talk and then to an adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. So that time, I had a profound experience of Lord, that just experience His love in a different way, that He is loving me personally, rather than, He loves you, right? Rather than He loves all of you. It's a little different. He loves me, that He died for me. That kind of made me cry and to invest in more in that relationship with Him. So I told Jesus that, Jesus, there's nothing more I want, I just want you. And it was through that Eucharistic adoration where I gave my yes to Lord, that I'm going to follow you.
Wow.
Nothing else is important for me.
And how did that? I mean, I think it's a journey. It happens in different ways, but it's that journey to personal faith, to personal relationship with Jesus. It's the call of every Christian believer. Yes. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone who falls in love with Jesus goes into ministry, because if that happened, there'd be no Christians out working in the world. We'd all be working in ministry.
Yes.
How did you go from that then to discerning a call to get involved in ministry?
So I attended this retreat through a movement called Jesus Youth. So then I started involving in Jesus Youth in my university. So while I was in university, I used to pray. And in India, we don't have that many ministry jobs. So I used to tell God, God, I just want to work for you, but I also want to support my family, but I just want to work for you after engineering. And then I did work in a software company called Accenture. I got campus placement and I went on there, but still that thirst for working for the Lord was there. But on the side, I was involved with Jesus Youth doing different outreaches and programs for youth and young adults. So, and then I completed my master's in Canada. And in prayer, I heard about this opportunity, but that there is this youth position in northern Canada.
In northern Canada, okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to pause you there because I want to rewind a little bit. A quick question, just because I'm really curious. What kind of engineering degree did you do? So you were in software?
I did mechanical engineering and mechanical production, and then
So if the roof ever falls in, you can help us out.
A little bit, yeah. Yes.
So okay, and I want to ask you a bit more about Jesus Youth because I only found out about Jesus Youth recently in this past year. Now, years ago, I remember at a World Youth Day,
Yeah.
seeing a big banner that said Jesus Youth. I didn't know what it was. So I found out this February. I was in Krakow in Poland for a meeting of church leaders, and we met the executive director of Jesus Youth, and that's when I found out about you, that you were actually living in Nova Scotia and moving to Dartmouth. That's a whole other story. And also, Divine Renovation Ministry, the ministry that I'm involved with, was in conversation with Jesus Youth about possibly having a partnership because your members are all over the world. Tell us a little bit, what is Jesus Youth?
So Jesus Youth is, it's a pontifically approved movement.
Is it what?
It's a pontifically approved. It's
So what is
approved
that?
by the Holy See
okay.
from the Pope.
So you guys are official.
Yes.
That's pretty impressive.
Yes. So it started in Kerala in the 1980s, and it got its name through a conference. It's funny, the youth came together in 1985. It was the year of youth, and they had a conference named Jesus Youth 85, and people all had a Holy Spirit experience that they started calling themselves Jesus Youth. That's how the name came, and then those people who were, attended the conference kind of spread across Kerala, across India, and now we are in around 35 countries across the globe, 35 plus countries. We mainly work with the youth. Our focus is reaching out to the youth, but it's also a lifelong ministry. We have, or we cater to young kids, youth, teens, young adults, and families, so small groups for families and university campus working professionals. So it's a lay movement outside of the Paris setting, right?
And how many people would be involved in this worldwide?
I would say easily around 100,000, 50 to 100,000 probably.
Wow.
Yeah.
50 to 100,000.
Yeah. I mean,
so
people who
different
just
degrees of involvement.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I want to also focus on something because you were raised in a religious context, even though in Kerala is known as the most Christian part of India.
Yes.
But even though it's the most Christian part of India, it's still a small percentage, right?
Yes.
What percentage of Keralites are Christian or are Catholic?
I guess it's around 17, below 20.
Okay, which is pretty, that's a lot
high.
for India, right?
Yes. India, there is only 3% of Christians.
Yes.
So, in that, majority are kind of in the south part.
So you were raised in a strong religious culture.
Yeah.
But then you experienced personal faith.
Yes.
You experienced the power of the Holy Spirit. And
Yeah.
that's a difference.
Yes.
What would you say, how would you describe the difference?
I guess it became very personal to me that Jesus is no longer, or faith is no longer something for me. It was not, I want to bless my I want blessing. I want to attend sacraments. It was not me anymore, right? It was more like I was journeying with Jesus for his mission. I don't know if it
I
makes
love it.
sense.
I love it.
Yeah.
I once heard someone say that it's the difference between, religious people want to receive a blessing, whereas disciples want to be a blessing.
Yeah, I mean,
Because it's like, okay, because not only do I have a conversion to Jesus, I have a conversion to his mission. All of a sudden, I own his mission. And it's like, it's not about me anymore. Because I think we can sometimes commodify faith. We can make it so transactional that we do religious things to get a blessing.
yeah.
And that's like, I once heard someone say, that's like treating God as a divine vending machine.
Yes, like
You
an
know,
ATM.
Yeah, we go to get the blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that kind of changed me, right? It was, I want to journey with Jesus to be a disciple, want to live my life for his mission, so for others rather than for, I don't know, my personal satisfactions or, I don't know, wealth.
So let me ask you, I mean, it sounds like, so you came to Canada, you did your master's degree, and then you were, I presume, saying, well, should I go into ministry? Should I be an engineer? I bet when you decided when you said a job in Northern Canada,
Yeah.
there must have been a number of people who thought you were crazy.
Yes, there were. Because, with engineering and masters, it's good to have a good job in the South. I was in Calgary at that time. And yeah, many people questioned, but I guess I was very close with Mother Mary, and when I did a Command C at the diocese in the northern Canada with First Nations, it kind of spoke to me that I felt Mother Mary is kind of asking me to be there. So even though I actually had a job at the same time, I said, no, I won't take that up. I will go for this one. So I went up north. It was for an Archdiocese of Keewatin-Lepa. That's around 650 kilometers north of Winnipeg. And then the diocese, everything.
650 kilometers north of Winnipeg.
Yes.
I mean, most Canadians wouldn't go in anywhere near Winnipeg, never mind 650. No offense to anyone from Winnipeg, but we call it Winterpeg.
Yeah.
And you went 650 kilometers north of there.
Yeah.
That must have been quite a shift to go from southern India to northern Canada.
Yes. I was scared of the cold and everything, but I got adjusted. I guess, yeah, again, the love of God, right? That compels you. I was not worried about the cold. I was looking at the opportunities, or I saw the people and the need. So I actually went for 1 year, but I ended up staying there for 4 years until I got married and moved to Nova Scotia.
Wow. Well, let me ask you, someone, Martha has asked a question to ask you to share a little bit about what's special about Kerala and its connection with one of the apostles.
Yes, so Christianity started in Kerala through Saint Thomas the Apostle.
And that's why your middle name is Thomas.
Yes, / my dad's name is also Thomas. So
Okay.
yeah, that's how Christianity came to India, and there's whole Eastern Rite. It's called Saint Thomas Christians or Syro Malabar. So I belong to that Eastern Rite.
But most people don't know that. They think, oh, well, obviously the Christianity was imported into India through 17th century or 16th century European missionaries. But it's like, nope.
No.
You guys are one of the original brands.
Yes, actually, Saint Thomas died in India. He was a martyr in India, in south part of India. So Saint Thomas came, and that's how the Christianity began in India. I guess it was still kind of in the south part, but then the European missionaries kind of spread it across India.
And so your background was Syro
Malabar.
Malabar.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of, again, Catholics don't understand this because I think in the Catholic Church there are something like 23 different rites. That's R-I-T-E-S. And one of the 23 is the Latin rite, which is what most Catholics think is what being a Catholic is. But there's 22 other expressions like Coptic Catholic, Ukrainian Catholic, Maronite Catholic, Melkite Catholic, Syro-Malabar, Syro-Malankar.
Yeah.
There's that's more of a Byzantine.
Orthodox.
Similar to the Orthodox. So what's the difference because I know that many of the young people that come to our parish who are from Kerala, Is there only Syro-Malabar Catholics, or are there Latin Rite Catholics in
There is both Latin and Syro-Malabar
Okay.
and Syro-Malankara in Kerala.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah,
That must get really confusing.
yeah, but we got used to it.
And you would probably be familiar with all the different.
I go for Latin Mass and Syro-Malabar, but Malankara is a little more longer, so
Yes.
the liturgy is a little different. I guess they use more of the traditional language, and so.
So
we-
if I went into a Syro-Malabar
yeah,
church, what would be different?
the liturgy is different. Initially, it was we didn't have much of statues, but now we have statues and things. But you will see two altars. The first part they will face the community, and then second part they will be facing the altar. Sorry, the priest will be facing that way. So you will see two altars.
Two altars.
Yeah, that's one major difference, and a lot of decorations on the altar with So
And the prayers would be slightly different.
prayers are very different, and the priest vestments are different. It's different, and the mass is longer. There's a lot of responses from the community, and altar service also have responses in between the prayers. They lead the prayers.
I was in one of the times I was in the Holy Land. I was in Galilee
Okay.
at I think it was the Mount of the Beatitudes, and there's like outdoor shelter, like outdoor areas where you can have mass. And I was wandering around, and there was a Syro-Malabar mass going on, and I kind of hid behind a tree and listened in, and it was very dynamic. There was a lot of responses and a lot of singing, and it was. I love the people don't understand how rich really the Catholic tradition is.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's go back to your adventures in the north. How did so you ended up there for 4 years? What did you learn? If you had to sum up your experience of what you learned in your time as a missionary, what would that be?
Again, one was a deep trust in the Lord, that it was no longer I, it was Him who called me. So engineering background and a totally new culture, not even the South Canadian culture. It's First Nation culture is very different, and so it was complete trust in the Lord, and I also learned how rich their faith was, even though they were going through so much of struggles, how faithful they were to Jesus and the faith, and then it also humbled me. I thought, I know so many things, but I learned so much, and I also counted my blessings when I saw so many different lives, struggles. I came to know how blessed I am, and to count on my blessings, even the small things. And the trust and God's kind of how God leads you was mostly my learning. That I started trusting God more, that He's going to take care of things, right?
So you trusted God, and He brought you all the way to Nova Scotia.
Yes.
So tell us about how that happened.
So after wedding, this job, it was very demanding. You have to travel all the time to different communities. You stay in First Nation communities, maybe for 3-4 weeks, up in the north, no cell coverage, travel on ice roads. And then after
So you say travel on
ice roads, winter.
not icy roads, but ice roads.
Yes, frozen lakes. So yeah. So I
You know,
traveled.
you've had an experience of Canada that the vast majority of Canadians have only watched on TV.
Yeah. So anyway, so from then, after marriage, my wife was in.
Wait
Nova
a
Scotia.
minute. You don't just get to say, go from traveling on ice roads to saying, and after marriage. It's like, okay, something happened in between. Like, so when did you meet your wife? And
So again, it was through Jesus Youth, during COVID time. We had so many of the youth meetings online, and then I met her through there. Kind of again, a little bit of cultural background. We have arranged marriages. I met her, but even my sister-in-law met her. So over Zoom, she kind of initiated this marriage proposal, and we started talking. Our parents got involved, and then we got married.
so family would initiate it, and
Yeah.
then of course you guys have to meet and decide
Yes.
if it's, yeah. And how did the Nova Scotia thing happen?
So she was actually working in Windsor, Nova Scotia, and I was in North. So it is demanding for her to move there. There is no job. It is difficult. So again, I discerned in prayer that it is the right thing to do. So even though I had the job offer for the coming years, I decided to move to Nova Scotia. So I was in Windsor, and then we had a baby, and we were in Kentville.
Right.
So that's when, Father, you met Manoj in Poland.
And tell our listeners, our viewers, who's Manoj?
Manoj, he's the executive director for formation for Jesus Youth International.
Yeah.
So
And we met him and his wife. We had supper with him, and I was blown away by talking with him. And I know that he told me that you at that point were the volunteer director of Canada for Jesus Youth.
yes, so I'm
And you had met some of our
Divine.
Divine Renovation folks at a conference
in
last
Ottawa.
year.
Yes,
And we're going together
yes,
to the same conference, or not? It's not a conference, a meeting. In 3 weeks, I think.
Yes.
And I'm there because of Divine Renovation. You're there for Jesus Youth, and I read this morning your bio,
Oh.
and it says you're working with Father James. So that's kind of funny.
yes, yeah.
So we've got a little bit of time left. Tell me about. I mean, obviously, I met you. We talked about the connection between what was happening at a global level with Divine Renovation in Jesus Youth, and through Divine Renovation, we were able to bring you into this position. Tell us about your own discernment for this step to come into parish ministry, because there's a big difference between working in a movement and working in a parish.
Yeah. So I took this in prayer, and I guess it has to do with that the initial question you asked about that what I learned. So I also feel church is parish is very important, right? Ministry was running on. I mean, I won't call parallel, but the life is different. But again, bringing that life to parish is also very important. A community in a parish is important. So in my discernment, even though I didn't know anything about working in a parish, I trusted God completely. And I was actually praying with a nun, a Catholic nun, and she also kind of helped me in that discernment, trust the Lord more. That I can see that it's a new door opening for you. And in my prayer also, I got that complete peace, even though I was worried. I don't know how I'm going to do the different things here, but I had that faith and trust that God is going to guide. So that's how my discernment was, that it was not my decision, that God is putting me here, kind of a feeling.
By the way, as we continue our conversation, please feel free to ask some questions. I remember meeting you. I mean, I heard about you, and there just seemed to be, the fact that we were in conversation with Jesus Youth, the fact that you were not only living in Nova Scotia, but moving to Dartmouth because of your wife's work.
Yeah.
And it was like, this seems very providential. And we met, and I was really amazed that there was, how can I say, the dimensions of this kind of ministry that you can't really teach. You either get it or you don't get it. I was struck like you get it, because you were involved in Jesus Youth. You're doing evangelization, you're doing discipleship, and you're raising up leaders. You're doing, helping create a leadership pipeline and doing it in a way that someone can do ministry in a way that you're the person who does everything, and it actually keeps people in immaturity. You don't let people grow up.
Yeah.
And fruitful ministry is when you awaken, but then you step aside and support others to grow. Yeah. And in many ways, Divine Renovation is all about trying to take movement dynamics and live them out in a parish. Tell us a little bit about what you've discovered already. You've been here for how long?
2 months, just over 2 months.
Just 2 months.
Yeah.
I mean, we threw you into the deep end. I think we started an alpha, our latest alpha, almost as soon as you arrived.
Yes.
And we've talked about, beginning to think about small group systems. I mean, our hope for that, and also helping to invest in leadership development through our leadership summits. What have you learned so far? Or what's been your biggest insight?
I guess there's there's a big call for that personal relationship with Jesus, and then also having a community, this one community as a parish. So that kind of brings in the small group aspect, right? We are not just a Sunday visitor for Sunday Mass. Today, this morning, you are sharing about the name tag. You address by name. So this is one big family. We are one big family. So that creates that personal connection, and the life or this faith has to live out in small group settings, in outside of this church building too. So I guess that's where I'm kind of concentrating on, having one personal relation with people, but personal relation, the parishioners having a personal relation with the Christ, and then having relationship build in small groups with each other, so that we take this faith to our home, to our wherever we are, having those small groups of faith.
Let me ask you a question. So imagine we can look into the future, and 5 years from now, so 2029, you're still serving here in ministry in this parish, and it's been an incredible experience with evangelization, discipleship, and leadership development. What's happening? What would you dream that God could use you to do?
Amen. With His dream or with His grace, I'm hoping there will be multiple alphas as an evangelization effort where people get personal encounters. So you'll have multiple alphas running, probably youth alphas and young adults alphas, and then from then there will be small groups, at least 60 to 70% of the parishioners being part of some point.
60 to 70%?
Yeah. You can dream big, right? It's not about my capacity. You can dream big with Christ.
Of course.
So at least 60 to 70% parishioners.
I remember hearing the Protestant, the Baptist pastor, Rick Warren, saying, God did use me to do great things because I believed he would.
He would.
It's nothing to do with me. It's about who I believe God is.
Yes.
He who is mighty has done great things for me. So 60, 70% of parishioners in small groups, that sounds good to me. What else?
Yeah, and also having platforms for the leaders, leadership development. More ministries where parishioners come up with ideas and they take it up. It's no longer I or the parish priest, or they do the things, in evangelization and in running things in the parish.
It's kind of like parenting, right? I mean, your little daughter, I saw her this morning. She's cute. I mean, you do a lot of things for her now, but if in 5 years you're still doing all those things for her, that's a bit of a problem.
Yeah.
If she's not, what's going to give greatest joy to you and your wife is that she grows and matures.
Yeah.
And we want to not only be a church that is giving birth to new believers who are growing, but people who are maturing. We have another quick question from Martha. What do you think of... I understand you were at Veritas bookstore.
Yes.
She says, what do you think of the customer service at Veritas, the Catholic book and gift store?
I had a good conversation.
You can't go anywhere in this city without it getting back to me. Oops.
Yeah, I had a good conversation with them. They were very helpful. I was telling them that not many people here knows that there's a store because of many immigrants in Nova Scotia. There are so many Catholics. They are looking for things to buy, but they were very helpful in finding the right things.
Very good. So there you go, Martha. 5 stars. 5 stars on Yelp.
Yes.
Is that Yelp? I think that'd be
Yelp.
Yeah. And Kimberly McDonnell says, Jims, you are truly an answer to a prayer. An answer to prayed by many at Our Lady of Guadalupe. Thank you.
Thank you.
And in conclusion, another question that was asked was about because we're just finishing off now. apparently you said you were surprised that working up north to see the presence of the image of Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Yeah, yeah. So it was even surprising when I heard about the parish name too. Our Lady of Guadalupe has a very strong presence in the north. They are very close to Mother Mary. They visit often to Guadalupe, but they pray rosary a lot. Many may not come to church, but they still pray the rosary to Our Lady, and then eventually she will bring them to the church. But I could feel, you go drive into a community, the communities are 200, 300 kilometers apart.
Wow.
You drive into the community, you'll see a Mother Mary statue right in front of the community. And you're passing that, while entering the community. The first thing you see is a Mother Mary statue or a small grotto of Mary.
The Aboriginal peoples have a very strong sense of the role of the mother of the feminine, and also, of course, Our Lady of Guadalupe appeared as an Aboriginal woman.
Yes.
So, I mean, that's incredible. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Jims, our time is up, and I didn't even get to ask you about your name. Jim with an S, and there's only one guy, so with a plural name. So you're going to have to ask him that yourself when you see him next. Jims, thanks so much. Thank you for your yes. Thank you for your obedience to the Lord and for the gifts that you bring to this ministry. And I, too, look forward to what's going to happen over the next 4 or 5 years.
Thank you, Father. It was an honor to be here with you. Amen.
And thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we will see you next time.